how Enzo Maresca will set up Chelsea. So first of all, we need to have a look at the formation he is going to use. Enzo Maresca has always been very, very fluid in the kind of formation he has used. Traditionally, we have to describe it as a sort of 4-1-4-1 system. So you've obviously got, goalkeeper, left back, 2 centre backs, and a right back. You've then got 1 DM, 2 high 8, left winger, right winger, and a striker. That is how Chelsea Football Club and how Leicester and how Parma, that is how all of them have played when you don't have the football. When you're in the defensive transition, that's how each of those clubs has played. However, it's when you are attacking in the attacking transition and the attacking phase is when Enzo Maresca's football really sort of comes into light. So the left back, the aforementioned left back we've already spoke about, that turns into a third centre half. So that left back needs to be able to play both left back and centre back. The right back we've already discussed, that moves up into the DM position, and you sort of play a sort of 3-2-4-1 system. So, having said that, we now need to have a look at this current Chelsea squad and see who is going to be utilised and who might have to be sold to make way for this new manager and for this new style of play. So we'll start off with the goalkeeper. Now, Enzo Maresca has always been very, very vocal in the fact that he wants a goalkeeper who can play with the ball at his feet. At Leicester, there were Danny Ward and Daniel Iverson, 2 goalkeepers who could perform in the Championship, and probably both would have done a decent enough job to get Leicester promoted to the Premier League. However, he wasn't happy with either of those options, and he went out and spent $5 million on Maddison. Now, at Chelsea, he did look at Maddison, and after Leicester quoted $40 million for the goalkeeper, Chelsea decided no, and they decided to go for Jorgensen from La Liga. So he is going to be a goalkeeper who is going to rotate in this Chelsea system with probably Sanchez. Now, Sanchez has shown that he is okay with the ball at his feet, so I wouldn't be too concerned about that. I do expect Jorgensen to go on and become that first choice keeper. Sanchez then is the backup, and I'd expect Bettinelli to be the third keeper in that Chelsea squad for this season. That leaves us with Petrovic, Kepa and Slonina. Now, Petrovic, I expect Chelsea to sell. Now, it's going to be difficult. He signed a 7 or 8 year contract last summer, which was something I didn't agree with at the time. I said that these long contracts are going to come back and bite Chelsea, while it helps to amortise the cost of them, and I understand that. Getting somebody on such a long contract does not make sense, because then how do you ship them? Because they go, well, I've got all this money. If I don't want to leave, I'm going to stay here for these 7 years, and that makes it really difficult for Chelsea. I do expect Petrovic to at least try and be sold, and I expect them to get kind of the food they got from him in the first place, because I do think he's a good keeper. Kepa, again, he was on loan at Real Madrid last season, and I think Real Madrid are waiting to see what happens with Lunin as to whether he signs a new contract to stay as Courtois' backup, or if Lunin does move on. If Lunin moves on, then from what we've sort of heard, Kepa will go to Real Madrid. If not, I still expect Kepa to leave Chelsea, potentially go to Saudi Arabia. That is a move I could see, considering Chelsea's very prominent links with Saudi from last summer. And then last but not least, Slonina. I expect this to be a loan move. I expect Slonina to get a loan move to a club. No idea who. I don't particularly know his level, but I know he's not quite Chelsea standard yet. I think he's a good goalkeeper, and obviously I know America and do value him very, very highly, but I don't think it's quite his time in this Chelsea setup yet. Moving to left back, and Chelsea currently have 4 left backs, or 4 people that will play the left back / left centre back role in this Enzo Maresca system. So you've got to remember, to play this left back role, you also have to be prepared to fill in to the left centre back position. So there are 4 sort of left backs in this squad. You've got Cucurella, Ben Chilwell and Wiley, who are all traditional left backs, and then you've also got Levi Colwill, who has played that left centre back role in pre-season, and I think will be a good option there for the season. We'll start with Colwill. I think he will stay. I think he's going to be a massive, massive part to this Enzo Maresca system. I think he's the perfect kind of player for that left back, left centre back role. You think about people that played there for Leicester, people like Callum Doyle and James Justin. Colwill is similar to Doyle in the kind of player that they are. Maresca did always like somebody that could pass from that position. I think Colwill will suit that really, really well, and I think he will be a mainstay in the side. I think the other player who's going to be utilised in that position is Marc Cucurella. Again, this was another player that when Enzo was brought in, I said he's going to flourish in this system. I think he is a capable left back, but we have seen him play in that sort of back 3 before. We have also seen him play as a left wing back, and I do wonder, because Enzo is very fluid with how with which side he likes to invert. He did invert both sides throughout the season at Leicester, with sometimes Ricardo Pereira playing on the left-hand side so that he could invert into the midfield if there was a particularly attacking left winger, one of them, playing for the other side to come and attack that left centre-back role. He would then like to play a more defensive person there. We'll get over to that more when we look at the right-backs, but I do think Cucurella could also invert if that's what Enzo did want to do at points in the season. I think Cucurella is going to be an excellent option for him. That then leaves Wiley, who I think will get a loan move. I think he's just signed and he looks like a decent player. I don't know if he's ever going to work in the Enzo Maresca system, but knowing Chelsea, will Maresca be here for years and years and years? We don't know. Personally, I don't think he will, but that might be a video to come later on down the line. I think he'll get a loan move and we'll see what he's about. And then last but not least, Ben Chilwell. I don't think he works in the Enzo Maresca system, sadly. I think Ben Chilwell will be a casualty of Enzo Maresca coming in and taking over from Mauricio Pochettino. I think he's too injury prone, and I don't think he works in that left back, left centre back role. So I do think Ben Chilwell will be moved on by Chelsea Football Club this summer, or at least they will try to move on. If they don't move him on, then I'm not sure how many minutes he is going to pick up, and I could see him being moved on, in 6 months and 12 months if Enzo Maresca is still the manager. Moving into centre-back now, and this is quite an easy one really. There were some obvious stays in the form of Disasi, Fofana and Tosin. Tosin Adebayo, obviously a new signing by Chelsea, and Fofana, a big £70 million signing who hasn't played much yet, and obviously Disasi being a good, solid centre-back. It then leaves three centre-backs that we've got to sort of look into, which is Badiashile, Chalobah and Gilchrist. Now, this video is what I think will happen. I think Badiashile will stay. I don't think Chelsea want to sell Badiashile. I don't think he is a very good centre-back. I think they should sell him. But with Chalobah's FFP pluses, the fact that anything you get for him will be pure profit, I think Chalobah will be sold, Badiashile will stay. And I know Chelsea fans aren't happy about that, but I do think that is the decision that Todd Bowley will make. And then for Gilchrist, I think a loan move is the outcome. He hasn't gone on their pre-season tour, and I think a loan move is something that I would expect to happen here. Moving on to right back, and there's two right backs, and both of these will stay. Reece James, I think this would traditionally be the player to invert into that right end role, and I think both Reece James and Gusto will be able to do that to varying degrees of success. I think what you could also potentially see at some points this season is James become that third centre back. And for somebody like Cucurella potentially to push into that DM slot, I could definitely see that, because I think James is also a competent centre-back on the right-hand side of a three. So it would not surprise me to see that happen, but I think James will flourish in this Maresca system. Gusto, I'm not sure how well he inverts, in all honesty. I have always seen him more as a flying fullback, but I haven't seen loads of him in a Chelsea shirt. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Maresca utilises him, because obviously he was such a key player for Chelsea last season. But I think obviously both of them will stay, and it'll be interesting to see how those players do get utilised. Moving into the midfield now, and 4 DMs we're going to look at. This is again fairly simple. Caicedo will stay, Lavia will stay, Ugachukwu, sorry if I butchered that, it's been confirmed that he's going to be getting a loan move, and I think that's probably the best decision. And then there's Vega, who's been signed this summer. Again, it's been confirmed that he's going to be staying at the football club. I think he's a good versatile backup. He can play CDM, he can play left back, he can play centre back. I think he's a good solid option, rotation option to have, and I'm sure he'll pick up some minutes throughout the season as injuries do come in, especially with people like Reece James being injury prone. Moving into the centre midfield now, and again I think this is fairly cut and dry. Enzo Fernandes will stay. The situation has now been closed. Enzo Maresca has confirmed, so Enzo Fernandes will stay and will be a crucial part in this side. These are sort of the two high 8 positions you have to remember. So these players don't particularly have much defensive input. Dewsbury-Hall will stay. He did that role really well for Leicester last season. Carney Chukwuemeka again can also see flourishing in that high 8 role. I think this could be a breakout season for him. He does have a £40 million release clause, but it doesn't look like that's going to be activated at the moment. I think he's a good player. I think he will suit the system really well. And then the other player who I think will stay out of this centre mid options is Nkunku. I think he could flourish as a high 8. I think he would be better as a 10 personally, or even a false 9. But Enzo Maresca doesn't play with either of those players in his system, so I think he will be pushed into that high 8 position. How well would it work? Well, we're going to have to wait and see. But if it works, oh wow, it will be incredible. And then you've got Santos, Cassidy, who will both be loaned out. I think Kellyman, either he'll get a loan or he'll stay within the academy with being so young. And then Conor Gallagher, sadly, he will be sold. There was a reason that Chelsea brought in Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, and that was to replace Conor Gallagher. I can't see both of them coexisting in this side together, and I think Conor Gallagher will leave for £35 to £40 million. As the time of recording, Atletico Madrid are in negotiations with Chelsea, and I can see that's being something that does happen. Moving into the attack now, and on the right, I think Palmer and Madueke will be the two players who will play out there. There are rumours about Palmer playing in the 8, but I think having Palmer and Nkunku as the two high 8s, I think is definitely far too attacking. I think could leave that CDM very, very exposed, even if you do have two players in there. So yeah, I would play Palmer on the right. I think Madueke as well is a good rotation option there, and Angela, loan, getting some more minutes, fine. Moving on to the left, there's Raheem Sterling, Raheem Sterling is a really interesting one. He's on about £350,000 a week, and I personally think Raheem Sterling should be sold. I think most Chelsea fans will agree that he's not good enough and that he does need to be shipped out. However, that will not be the case. He's on so much money and you can't get rid of him. That's the simplicity of the situation here. Don't know how long of a contract he does have. He has been there for 2 years now, and you would hope, maybe if it's 3 or 4 years, you can get rid of him soon. But I think sadly he will have to stay. I don't know how many minutes he will get because I do see Mudryk being the player to play over on that left hand side. You have to expect better of him than he did last season, but I think you will. I think it's a do or die season for Mudryk in all honesty. But Sterling I think is one who will end up moving on at some point soon. I think he will stay for this season. I think he will see his minutes reduced. And then Moreira, again, it's a loan. And then moving on to striker. So you've got Nicholas Jackson, who I think will stay and will become the understudy, and we'll speak about the main striker in a second. There's also Mark Guéhi, I think it's pronounced, the £6 million signing from Barcelona, which looks like an absolute bargain. I think he will stay. I think he will be the third sort of rotation striker. At Leicester, Maresca was seen to use 4 strikers throughout the season. However, I do think only 3 of them were actually needed. And I can see Guéhi, playing some minutes, and he's looked good in pre-season. I then think Lukaku, Broja and Datro Fofana, I think all those 3 players will be sold. I don't particularly see a future at Chelsea Football Club for any of those 3 players. I think Washington will be loaned. And then I think a new striker will be brought in. There are obviously links with Victor Osimhen, and I could see that being a move that does happen. But what do you think? How do you think Chelsea will do this season, and do you think they will bring in Osimhen? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you all again in the next video. See ya!